So before we tackle the Celsius converter, we're going to make a very simple program that outputs weather temperature. Now it's not as complicated as it sounds. This is very basic. The point here is that we're learning input, output, and concatenation in a practical sense. So let's start with making it in Scratch. We want to go to the Say block in Looks. And initially it's going to be simply this. This is our output, and we click on here. The temperature today is 35 degrees. Now we will just add a flag event to it so that when we click on the flag, so at this stage, that's our entire program, just simply output. So let's do this in Python. And in JavaScript, we could do alert first. Run that. But because we want to go to the document window, we're going to go document.write. Okay, so we've got output in Scratch, Python, and JavaScript. So now we're going to add a little bit of concatenation to our programs. So if we go to the join block, grab two join blocks, and you can see here we're concatenating 3 bits together. One bit of text, second bit of text, third bit of text. And when we run it, we may have a spacing problem, so we've just got to put a space here. And here. Okay, so let's take this concatenation idea over to Python. So here we can see we've got one bit of text, second bit of text, third bit of text. I'm just going to put in a different number so that we can see that it's actually working. Put a space in here. Now if I didn't have quotes around that, you could see it's a different color, so that would be concatenating a string and a number and a string. And if I tried to run that, it says it must be a string, not an integer. So for Python, we'll put quotation marks around there so that we're concatenating 3 bits of string data. And in JavaScript, there's our output, concatenating a bit of string, second bit of string, third bit of string. And in JavaScript, we could go with the data type of number, which is shown in red here. And JavaScript will actually accept that. We would have to put a space there and there because there's no option to put a space either side of the number. But for consistency, we'll just keep it as a string. Okay, so that was stage 2 of building up our program. Now we would want to put this number inside a variable. So create a variable called temperature. We can see it over here. If we uncheck it, we can hide it. We can have this while we're testing. And I'm going to set the value of temperature to 40, and instead of having a hard-coded number in there, I want to put a variable so that we now can just change this part of our program, and we have a lot more flexibility and more dynamics to our program. Okay, so let's do this in Python. Temperature is assigned the value of, let's say, 32. And instead of hard coding in that number, I'm going to put in the variable there. And when we output, and we can make our program change simply by changing the value there. Let's do this in JavaScript. So var keyword, the variable is called temperature, and it's assigned a value of, let's say, 28, finish with a semicolon. Replace the number there with the variable name. And so if we want to change the output, we can change it in that one spot there. Now, if you gave this program to a person, like no one's really want to be bothered to open up the code of a program, find the spot and change the input. So we're now going to do one last step, is we're going to get the user input to fill into this space here. So let's see how we do that in Scratch. We go to the sensing block, we go to ask. And we can say here, enter temperature in degrees Celsius. Now that's going to store into this variable here. So we can set temperature to be user input. I can enter in 13, and our output changes depending on the input. In Python, so the variable temperature is not going to be a hard-coded number, it's going to be user input. Just a message in here to let people know what you want them to do. So variable called temperature stores user input. The output is this string of text plus the user input plus that bit of text. Now I could just neaten that up a little bit. So you can see how we're building to a dynamic program. And this is the basis of what we'll be doing in the Celsius. In JavaScript, variable temperature, instead of a hard-coded number, equals prompt. Run. The prompt box is here. Whatever I type in is stored in the variable and output. Okay, so now that we've made this simple weather application that gets user input and outputs it, let's now look at making a full-blown Celsius converter. User inputs Celsius degrees and the output converts it into the equivalent in Fahrenheit.